to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I've just been sent this puzzle to have a look at today. It's called If 6 Was 9 by Scruffamudda. I've read the instructions. I have to say, this might be just about the most elegant thing I've ever seen in Sudoku. It is, well, in fact, I'm going to start today. I do have a birthday announcement to make, but I just want to read you the rules of this one straight away so we can just talk about how ludicrous this puzzle is. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits within each cage must sum to either 6 or 9. So these either sum to 6, these sum to 6 or 9, etc. So in every cage's case, we have to make sure the digits in it add to 6 or 9. By rotating the grid through 180 degrees, each cage sum is also rotated such that 6 becomes 9. For example, the cage at row 1, column 2, 3, 4, that's that cage there, must have a different value to the cage at row 9, column 6, 7, 8, which is that one. And that's because if this was a 6, if this total was 6, as you rotated the grid round, that 6 would look like a 9 when it ended up down here. Digits separated by a white dot are consecutive and not all possible dots are given, so these have to be consecutive. But now let's just pause and look at this grid and think about this, because this is entirely symmetrical about rotation. Even the 6 here, which is one of the givens, becomes a 9 when it's rotated around. So this is, I mean, it's just so beautiful to me that this exists. I know there'll be lots of mathematicians watching. We get a lot of mathematicians enjoy Cracking the Cryptic, but the sort of topology of this is just staggering to me. It's entirely symmetrical. The dots are symmetrical. The cages are symmetrical, and apparently we get a unique solution to this, even though the whole thing is rotationally symmetric. Literally, it is. It's just wonderful. Anyway, before we have a go at solving it, I need to say a very, very happy birthday to a special little girl, Caroline. I think you have turned 4 today, and your Aunt Amy, who some of us here know better as Panthera, a very famous Sudoku constructor, got in touch with us to say it was your birthday today, and I hope you have had a super day, and of course a very special cake. At that age, I know cakes are very important, so I hope that you have had a magnificent one. Now, I don't have anything else to tell you. I suppose just a normal palaver. If you enjoy the channel, please consider subscribing. Please hit the like button. Please leave us a nice, kind comment. All of those things would be most welcome. And let's have a look at Scruffamudda's puzzle. You can play this puzzle by clicking the link under the video. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And what is it that's going to break the symmetry? It's going to have to be... Well, okay, I'm going to make an allegation. I think it's going to have to be the 6 that breaks the symmetry, not the 9, because the 9 can never go in a. Then maybe 9 on a white dot might be important. I'm not sure, but I was just thinking that the 6 can live in a cage in this puzzle because we have cages that either sum up to 6 or 9. So a 6 can live in a cage, whereas a 9 never can, because you could never have a 2-cell cage that was 9 and 0. So probably this is important somehow. Right, okay, I can see one thing, I think, and that is that it's not possible. It's almost funny how clever this is. Not me, by the way, the construction. But you can't have... These two cages here cannot have the same total. We can say that. And that's because if they have the same total, they clearly couldn't be 2 lots of 6, because you can't make 5 different digits add up to 12 in a Sudoku, because the minimum 5 digits can add up to is the triangular number for 5, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, which is 15. So, if these two can't both be 6, then the question becomes, could they both be 9? And the answer is, of course, no, because if these did if this cage added up to 9 and this cage added up to 9, then when we perform the rotation, these would have to both add up to 6, and we get the same problematic logic with these cells having to add up to 12, but there being 5 of them. Because, of course, this has to be a different total to this, and this has to be a different total to that. So these are different digits, and therefore, this is lovely. This is so lovely. Therefore, these 5 digits add up to 15, because one of these cages is a 6 cage, and one of them is a 9 cage. Now, if 5 digits add up to 15, and they all have to be different digits. They have to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple, and these must be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple as well, which means that in this row we get a 9. We get a 9 on the dot by Sudoku, so that's got to be an 8, 9, and we get a digit in the grid because that's going to be a 7 to complete the row. Oh, I see, yes, and this 6 is really beautiful. Good grief. So the 6 now gets pushed onto this white dot, where it can't accompany a 5, so must accompany a 7. And we get 8 in the corner to complete row 9. Wow. Just wow. By the way, the email that sent me this said it's been recommended by people like Dying Flutchman. And Dying Flutchman is a fantastic constructor, so I think, well, it's very clear why this puzzle has been recommended to us. It is quite simply, well, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous. So now what do we do, though? I don't know. I'm sort of tempted to wonder about the middle, these 2 dominoes in the middle row, because we know that these must be different. So these 4 cells add up to 15. And this is, I think, one of the rare examples in this puzzle of where the cages see one another. So this cage, we know it's got a different total to this cage, but the digits up here clearly don't see any of the digits down there through the medium of Sudoku. Whereas here we do have a sort of Sudoku type relationship. The only other thing I'm wondering about is the sort of proliferation of white dots in these boxes and whether we can do something with that. I can tell you. Okay, well, there's something. I can tell you something about this domino and therefore about this domino, because the logic must be the same. This is not a 2-4 domino. And the reason it's not a 2-4 domino is what on earth would be put in this cell? Now, and I'm thinking here because we have to have a run of 3 digits because of the consecutive nature of white dot dominoes. Well, you might say, but this can be a 5. But no, it can't, because now where on earth are we going to put 1 and 3 in this box? Every single cell in this box is attached to a white dot. So the 1, if we try and put a 1 here, we're going to have to put a 2 with it. If we try and put a 3, we're going to have to put a 2 or a 4 with it, and we won't be able to. So this doesn't work. So this domino is not a 2-4 domino. But if it's a 9 domino, it could be a 4-5 domino. And then, and that would be a 1, 2, 3 triple. Okay. Okay, so there is a 5 in here. That's what we've learnt, isn't it? Because either, if this domino adds up to 6, it's not a 2-4 domino, it must be a 1-5 domino. But if it adds up to 9, it must be a 4-5 domino, so there is definitely a 5 in there. And the same logic must apply symmetrically down there. So now we can take 5 out of here and 5 out of here. Right, no, okay, now I see. Now I can do this one. And this is where the symmetry breaks. This is so clever. Good grief. Right. How long must it have taken to come up with this as an idea, let alone to execute it? Right, this is not a 1-5 domino, I don't think. And the reason for that is what then happens. Oh, I've got a wasp in my room. Oh, hang on. I hope it will go out, but if it doesn't, and comes over here, I'm going to have to pause the video and get rid of it. That looks like it looks a lot more like a hornet than a wasp. Ooh, okay. Anyway, this cell here is now, well, this is a 2, 3 or a 4. So this sequence here now has to be a 2, 3, 4 sequence because it can't include 1 or 5. But that makes this square the centre of the sequence. And if this is the centre of the sequence, what digit is it? It's a 3. And therefore, what's this digit? This domino has to add up to 9 or 6. Well, it's either 6 would require double 3, 9 would require a 6, and there we get the clash. So this is huge, isn't it? Because now we know something we definitely didn't know before, which is that this is a 9 cage, which means it's 4, 5, which means this, because this digit now has to be a low digit, and this has to be sequential and never reach 4, this has to be 1, 2, 3, the middle digit there must therefore be a 2, therefore this square is 4 or 7, depending on what the nature of this cage ends up being. These squares here have to be from 1, 2 and 3, they have to include the 2. And now we will say, oh I see, so these are 6, 7, 8 and 9, but we're going to have to make sure the 6 goes with a 7 and the 9 goes with an 8 because of the white dottedness that we've got going on. But I think probably the most exciting thing here, these are the things I find exciting, this is a 9 cage, so when we rotate it to here, this is a 6 cage. Oh, and it's got a 5 in it, so this is 1, 5. And therefore this is 2, 3, 4. So, oh, this is, yeah, I see. So this becomes a 2, 3, 4 triple, the central digit of which is the 3. But now we don't have the problem here. That's so clever, isn't it? So this now can be a 6, and needs to be because it can't be a 3. We can't have 2 3s in the same row of a Sudoku. Which means this is a 9 cage, which means this is a 6 cage by rotation. We don't get to say that very often. Okay, right, this being a 6 works rather beautifully here, doesn't it? Because now I've got to put a 6 on this white dot, but can't have a 5 on it. So that's 6, 7, and that's 8, 9. And there's a 4 in one of those, so that's 4 and that's 5. And there's a 1 in one of these, so that's 1 and that's 5. Yeah, okay, so again, when you get these highly symmetrical puzzles, we need to be, or I need to be focused on, when I do logic down here, I must always try and repeat the logic up there, just in case we're going to learn something from symmetry. Okay. Oh, right, yeah, look, I've got a quadruple here. Let's label these up, 6, 7, 8 and 9 into these cells, and look at column 5. There's a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple. So these squares have got to be 2, 3 or 5 to complete the column. Although we don't know very much about these yet, so we may have to pause while we work out what to do next. So, okay, here's a small point. 9 can never go in a cage in this puzzle, so 9 is in one of those 2 cells. In fact, that might be worth... Yeah, look, we should actually do this. We should probably pencil mark all of the places 9s can go, just in case we learn. No, actually it's not working. It's not quite working. I thought that might be an interesting idea, just to think about where 9 could go in the puzzle, because we could never put it in a cage, but I don't think it's doing anything. So we've got this 3-cell cage here, which can't be 1, 2, 3. Ah, yeah, okay. So this is where we should look next, because we've got 1, 2 and 3 in these 2 cells. If this was a 6 cage, it's 3 cells large, have to be 1, 2 and 3, and that would mean we would have to have a repeated digit in box 1, because we'd have those 4 cells that were only selectable from 3 different digits. So this is a 9 cage, which means what then? It's not 1, 2, 6, so it's either 1, 3, 5 or 2, 3, 4. Okay, but those 2 squares are not 2 because there's a 2 in one of those, and these 2 squares are not 4. So these only have the option of being 1, 3 and 5, which means we've got a 1, 2, 3, 5 quadruple in the box. This square now, yeah, so now this combination is not 2, 3, 4 because we'd need one of those squares to be a 2 or a 4 for that to be the case. So this is 1, 3, 5. These squares have got to be 7, 8, 9. So now we've got a quadruple in row 3. Oh, yeah, but easier than that. Look at row 2. We've got a 7, 8, 9 quadruple there, so we can't put 7, 8 or 9 in those cells. So we've got, where do we put 7, 8 and 9 in row 2? They've got to go in those cells. So we can't have a 6 in there. So this domino now must have... Oh, this is beautiful. Right, yeah, comes back to the point we said earlier. But because we have 2 dominoes in box 2, we know that this is made up of an 8-9 pair and a 6-7 pair. But now we know there must be an 8 in this domino, because this is a 7, 8, 9 triple. And if you put 8 there, you're going to have a 7 and a 9 on a consecutive domino, which won't work. So once we know that 8 is in there, we know it must join its friend the 9, which means this is an 8-9 pair and this is a 7, which means this is an 8-9 pair, which means this is a 6-7 pair. And we can... what else can we do with that? So now probably we work on this, do we? Oh, you rotten thing. I was about to say we were going to know what this was. I didn't think it could be 9, but it can be. It could be 3 and 6, I think. Which would make that have to be a 6 domino, which it might be able to be. Oh no, okay, sorry, I'm stuck now. I'm not sure what to do. Oh, but I got this as being a 9. Yes, I know what I do. This added up to 9, so that must add up to 6, and that gives me a 1, 2, 3 triple in column 9, which gives me a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. And we can say 2 things about that. Firstly, the 1 in this quadruple is in this domino, which means that is not a 1. Secondly, the 4 in this quadruple is in this domino, so that is not a 4. So that's 2, that's 4. That gives us the 3, 4 here, which places a 3 there. Which does not enough. I don't think it does anything. Oh no, I'll tell you what it does. We can place 7 in this box now by our old friend Sudoku. So those 2 squares have got to be a 5, 8 pair to complete box 9. So perhaps what we do now is... trying to buy time here. I'm not exactly sure what to do now. We should... maybe look at this domino. Maybe this domino or this domino have some sort of restriction on them. 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, 5 here. So this is not 4 by Sudoku, and this is not 1 or 5 by Sudoku. So this is... oh no, it can still be a 9 cage though. It could be a 4 and a 5. Sorry, I thought this was going to be a 2-4 cage, but I don't think it has to be. Okay, you can't put 1 in here. There you go. There is a tiny deduction. That is not a 1 because it can't pair up with 2 or 4 to make 6 or 9. So this is either a 4-5 cage or a 2-4 cage. And that's very annoying indeed. Okay. Where am I meant to be looking here? Is this obvious to people? That's not a 3. 6 in this box now can't go in a cage because these are all domino cages. So if you put a 6 in them, it must be a 9 cage and it needs a 3. Oh no, unless 6 can go in that one. No, 6 obviously can't go in that one by Sudoku. Right, no, so 6 has to be in this domino, which does absolutely nothing. If we put 7 in a domino, which we could, 7 would have to accompany 2. But that all seems possible as well, doesn't it? Okay, so let's check this one out then. So we know that this, if it's a 9 cage, it has to be 3, 6, which would have to be in a very specific order. It would have to be this way round. Can't see why that's a problem. Whereas if it adds up to 6, it would have to be a 1, 5 cage, and that would have to be in a very specific order. Oh, and that's the point. Good grief. Right. So now this 6 is looking at that cell. So where does 6 go in row 2? There is the answer. So that's 6. It must go with 3. So this is 6. This is 9 by Sudoku, and the fact we can't put 9s in the cages. So that means that we get a 9 not in there. Yeah. So the 9s are now aligning in column 1 and column 2 in these 4 cells. So we can ask where 9 goes in column 3. It can't go in this cell, and it can't go in these 3 cells. So therefore it must go there. So that becomes an 8. The world's most useless 8. But this big 3, 6 makes this have to add up to 6 by rotation again. So that's a 2, 4 pair. So that's not a 2. That's now a 1. That's a 2. That's a 5. So that feels like it might matter. Because we now, I suppose, we know what these digits are. These are 1, 3, and 9. Let's put that in. We can never put 9 in a cage. That must be a 9, in fact. A robin redbreast in a cage sets all heaven in a rage. As does 9 in this puzzle. So now we've got... so now we get the 9 here. Just use your pencil mark, Simon. We need 2s, 4s, and 7s into these cells. So if this is a 6 cage, this is a 2 or a 4, and we'd have a... Well, by uniqueness, that's not going to happen, because we'd never be able to disambiguate the orders of the 2s and 4s, so I'm fully expecting this to be a 7 in the finished grid. Yeah, okay, so, and then... Oh, that's weird. Oh no, this could be 5. Okay, so this being... If this is a 9 cage, which is what it's going to be, this has to either be 2 or 5, or it can't be 7. So it's 2, 4, 5 into this cell. Okay, alright, so now what do we do? So now maybe we do this domino. So this domino, if it's a 6 cage... Oh, it can't be a 6 cage. That's what we do next. It can't be a 6 cage because it would either need a 3 or a 5 here, and it can't have either. So this must be a 9 cage, which makes this an 8 or a 6. Which, unfortunately, I think both of those seem to be possible. But if that's a 9 cage, this is a 6 cage. So it's either 2, 4 or 1, 5. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. That both of those things are possible, I think. We don't seem to know anything about 1s and 5s or 2s and 4s in that column. Bother. Right, so these are 4, 5 and 8. So maybe we've got to work on this cage now. So if this is an 8, that must be a 1, because we must be looking at a 9 cage. But if this is a 9 cage. This could be 4 or 5, and or that could be a 2 with a 2-4. Goodness me, there's still quite a lot of optionality. Oh no, I don't know anything about those cages. I've got a horrible feeling I'm getting very stuck here. Row 2, there's no 3 in that cell. 3, 5. This square's got to be a 1 or a 5. Oh, yeah, there you go. Wow, 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 wow. This by Sudoku is a 1 or a 5. So how could this be a 1-5 pair? We know this is a 6 domino because that was a 9 domino. It can't now be a 1-5 pair, so that's a 2-4 pair, which means that's got to be a 4, and that's got to be a 3. And we could have got that before using the power of thatness, this 3 looking at it, but actually it's not really done anything. It's removed 4 from this cell. It must have done more than that. Hang on, let me just study. This 9 is giving some 9. Yeah, we can do some Sudoku. That's what we should be doing. There we go. 1, 5. We get a 1-3 pair here. We get a 1-3 pair here. This 8 is ruling itself out of this square. So this cell has to be 2, 4 or 5. 2 or 5 in fact. And this has to be 1, 2 or 5 by Sudoku, but this digit is known. Oh, I see. Yeah, where does 7 go in box 6? That's the question. So that's 7. So that's got to be 2 because this must be a 9 domino. That's 4, that's 2, that's 5, that's 4. So now this can't be 2. So this can't be 5 because it would make that an 8. This must be a 1-5 combination with an 8 there. And now this 1, 5 here is adding up to 6, so this needs to be a 9 combination and not use a 5. So this must be 7, 2, which is what we said by uniqueness. So that's 2, that's 4. That's 4 by Sudoku. That was a 6 cage, so this, oh, we already knew that was a 9 cage. Have we broken the back of this now? I sort of feel like that last flurry was useful. 7 here gives me a 7 and a 6. I think that's been available for a while. No. 6 is in one of those 2 cells. Oh, I know what. That's a 9 cage, so that's got to be a 6 cage and can't be a 2-4 cage. So that's a 1-5 cage, which is resolved. 5 and 1 and 3 and 1 and 3 and 1 and a 2-3 pair. Ah, but the 1 is doing it. 1, 3, 3, 2, 6 or 8 here. Oh, but we need this to add up to 9, so that's how that gets disambiguated. Good grief. This is just startlingly clever. Now, that's a 2 by Sudoku, that's a 5, that's a 3 therefore. So now, hopefully, we're just going to be able to write these in. 1s and 8s, 8s and 9s, 8s and 9s. We need something to do the 6s and 7s, don't we? This is a 7-9 pair. Yes, and there's a 9 here. So 9, 7, 7, 6, 7, 6, 6, 4. Yes. That Scruffamudda is one of the great Sudoku puzzles. Full stop, no doubt. I hope there are people watching this video who appreciate what you have done here, because that is quite exceptionally clever. My brain resists forcefully when I try and make myself think about how you go about constructing something like this. It is a beautiful idea. 6s, 9s with rotation, making the cages change total. And to do it with that amount of, well, panache, it is worthy of Cyrano de Bergerac, my friend. Thank you very much for constructing it. Thanks to those of you who recommended it to us. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.